Order! Silence in court! Order! Silence in court! I would like to declare the case of movie trialers versus the accused now open. Welcome, listeners, to our very first episode of Movie Trialers versus. On trial today is a film accused of second-degree awfulness, Ridley Scott's 2012 movie, Prometheus. Beside me is the defendant, a huge fan of Prometheus and an even bigger Godzilla fan, Will. Say hello, Will.
Hello, I am Godzilla Fan.
Prometheus stands accused of awfulness in the second degree. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
And are you going to prove me wrong?
Not only am I going to prove you wrong, I'm going to prove that I'm right.
We shall see. Your Honour and the jury, I put it to you that Prometheus is awful. It's awful for many reasons. It was painful for me as an Alien fan to watch it because of its awfulness. Now, I am a huge Alien fan. I love Alien. I love Aliens even more. And I went into Prometheus believing wholeheartedly that I was going to have a good time, that I was going to enjoy myself. But actually, I came out feeling, I felt misled, I felt hurt, I felt like the film would ruin the lore of Alien. I felt that there was bad scripting, it was a mess, there was no substance, just style, gloss, nothing underneath. It was horrible. I felt cheated, I felt robbed of my hard-earned cash, and it's not a film that I'd recommend to anyone. Unless you're like my compatriot beside me, who is, I can't even begin to understand why, but a fan of this film. I don't know why. I don't know why you're a fan. I don't approve. In fact, I think it was awful, and it makes me mad. It makes me mad because we were promised a lot, and what we were given was a lot of shit.
I object to the allegations made against Prometheus. It is not a piece of shit, and I have valid reasons that say otherwise. It has a reliable cast. It has Ridley Scott returning to the Alien universe. It has H.R. Giger also returning to help Ridley Scott with design work, who also designed the original Alien to begin with. And it's a film that wants to be more than just spectacle. And I feel, to counteract my comrade, that Prometheus brings back the Alien universe into the right direction, and it's a spin-off that's the best Alien film since Aliens.
So you really genuinely believe that this is a good spin-off? I put that in inverted commas, a spin-off. Do you genuinely think it's a good spin-off?
Yes, and I question why you would put that in inverted commas, because it's clearly a spin-off.
Is it clearly a spin-off? I'm not sure that Ridley Scott himself knows what it actually was.
No, that is not true. There is video evidence before the film even came out in featurettes that were featured before Avengers, so clearly a lot of people went to see that film, when he stated that Prometheus was set in the Alien universe and about a completely different creature.
So was it set in the Alien universe and about a different creature, although it just happened to include the alien, and still not a spin-off? Wait, is it not then more a homage as opposed to a spin-off? I mean, I was told it was a prequel. That's how it was advertised, which leads back to my first point of the fact that it was misleading. The advertising was misleading, and the way it was promoted, the premise was misleading. I was told this was going to be a prequel, the origins of the alien, and what I was shown was something that didn't quite know whether it was the origins of the alien. It didn't quite know whether it was this goo. It didn't quite know whether it was what were they called? The architects?
The engineers.
The engineers, right.
Also known as space jockeys.
Space jockeys?
Yes.
Why?
In the original film, the massive dude where we first see the first sighting of the output, the chestburster itself, it's the name of the creature sat in the chair.
Why is it the name of the creature sat in the chair? Because it's just lying in the chair.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, this is irrelevant. Because these are just labels for stupidity. It's silly. It's all silly. There was so much menace. We're gonna have to directly compare Alien, even though it pains me. We're gonna have to directly compare Alien to Prometheus because they're very similar. In fact, many of the scenes in Prometheus are clearly a homage to Alien, like the worm approaching the scientists and being all face huggery, and then they were stupid, were they not? Were they the most annoying characters? They were dumb. They were so dumb. These are meant to be intelligent scientists, and how did they get lost? Please tell me how they got lost. Bearing in mind, this is a massive plot hole, in my opinion.
While I can't deny that those two characters, Fifield and Melbourne,
you remember their names.
dumb.
That's better than me, because
were dumb.
They were so boring to me that I barely registered their names. Carry on, sorry.
While I agree that they were dumb, I want to just examine this entire scene that became where this plot hole comes from, because what happens is we're given a map. These balls, he floats them up into the air, and they map it out to the ship. So therefore, the ship is given the map.
Right.
And the captain, and they speak over the phone, communications and stuff. Yeah. And what happens next is they get lost. They both go back to try and get back to the ship.
Yes. And they failed in that somehow, even though they had access. Even though they had access to the same technology they had when they entered and didn't know where they were going. And they all came through the same way.
Mm.
How did they end up still being in the cave when everyone else had done a lot more and left? It was just stupid. It was pointless. It made me. It was annoying. It was really annoying.
Unfortunately, I cannot defend this because the reason it is a plot hole is because while they get lost in the maze, that could be forgivable if the communications were knocked out before they got lost, not after. And that is unfortunately what happens.
You're kind of doing my job for me here. But...
However, that is only one plot hole on side characters.
Yeah, but they made a deal out of it. They spent screen time showing this to us. I don't know if it was to raise the horror levels of the film, which I must say were okay in places.
Well, it shows to us another level of what the goo inside the capsules would do to either a creature or a living tissue, basically, as we're seeing when there's a shot of a foot hitting the ground when they're going into the temple, and as they go in, and then we see worms, and these worms in the ground, the same ground that gets covered, the entire place, with the black goo. And what the black goo turns them into is the snake.
Okay, so this you're arguing about semantics, effectively, about the specifics of what the goo may or may not have been. The point is...
No, it shows you exactly what it does.
Well, not really, because it does multiple different things. In fact, I don't know if they knew what it did, because 1 minute it's turning people into crazy zombies, and next minute it's creating aliens. It doesn't... It's not... But that doesn't matter. It's a sci-fi. It can do whatever it wants. It doesn't... That in itself didn't bother me. What bothered me was the fact that they had so many different threads they were trying to weave, and they didn't fulfill a single one of them as well as they could have done if they had just focused on one or two of these things. In Alien, again comparing to Alien, the plot, the overarching... Let me just finish, sorry. The overarching plot is very concise. It's very focused. You don't know who the main protagonist is straight away, which is a good thing, I think. Just like in Prometheus, but, well, actually that's not true. You do know that Elizabeth Shaw's main character fairly early on. But anyway, regardless of that, you know what the problem is. There's a status quo, amazing status quo set up at the beginning of the film of Alien. That shot tracking through the ship, the empty ship, brilliant. That's fantastic. Then you have the status quo interrupted.
I'm sure no one will deny that Alien was fantastic.
Yeah, well, some people might, but Alien, it has that status quo set up, it has the alert, the help request sent out, so interrupting the status quo, then the problem arises, and then you watch the crew struggle to survive, and you follow the story through to its logical conclusion. In Prometheus, there's multiple different half plots going on, and they can't seem to decide which they want the film to be about, which they want the film to represent. They've got the sort of alien birth. They've got the sort of...
I'd like to just, since we're going off a bit, with the premise or plot of the film, the Prometheus has a simple premise as well. The premise is some scientific mission, goes to a planet that has these engineers, and they want to find out more about these engineers. Of course, it turns out they're not all cracked up to be, and when they find...
I know what you're saying.
When they find... And the engineers go after... And they find out their plans of the engineers, and the engineers go after the crew. And that's what happens in Prometheus.
Yeah, I mean, I understood
and
it.
The main focus of that is between Shaw and David.
Yeah, objection.
They're the two main characters from the beginning of the film.
No, they're not. That is not true.
Not the opening, but the beginning.
Holloway is a main character. Him and Shaw were given as much screen time as each other from the start. And he's murdered by David. And then, who cares? He dies. He was
who cares? There was ample amount of time. We got to know them a little bit. We got to know them.
To it. It just happened. There was no... It was a really important point of drama in the film. David spiking Holloway's drink. What is it, Holloway or Holloway? Holloway's drink. My bad. Holloway's drink. He spikes Holloway's drink. He dies. He turns into he gets flamethrowered.
He becomes ill because of the effect of David putting whatever it was into the goo into his drink, and therefore that triggers off, and we start seeing his devolute or being reanimated.
Yeah,
that's what's happening to him. He's being reanimated.
What was the point of it? They just sort of dropped it. After it happened, it was like, okay, that happened. Now let's focus on the engineers. And now let's focus on David being a crazy android. Now let's focus on the cesarean scene.
No, that was a really good scene.
It was not a good scene. Oh, Jesus. How...
That was the only part of the film that had really good horror.
It had good horror, but...
That was
She
a really
just had a
good
cesarean and
set
she
piece.
was doing a marathon afterwards.
She didn't do a marathon. She went straight to the headquarters and then dropped down, had a long
I specifically
rest.
remember her running away from the comedy alien ship that was chasing them, that crushed Vickers.
No. There's quite a bit of time before that all happens. She doesn't leave that ship.
I must have fallen asleep in that bit.
I cannot defend you. I mean, what? How can you defend yourself when you've fallen asleep?
I didn't fall asleep. It was a turn of phrase. It was just... Do you not get my point, though? There was no real focus to this film. The premise is a good one. I like the concept.
I think the premise is solid.
I like the
nothing
name.
else.
Prometheus is a great name. The idea of Prometheus...
and it even sticks to that, about the ship.
It sort of does.
It does. No, it absolutely does.
Let me put this to you.
Right.
If you just picture the entire film, lay it out in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now remove all of the pieces that are in any way trying to set this film up as a prequel to Alien. So remove the alien appearing out of the chest, remove any of the allusions to that, any of the hints they tried to drop that this was in any way related to Alien. And I genuinely think that you get a much, much better film.
Okay.
I genuinely think you get a much better film. It's a much more concise film, it's a much more interesting film, it's a much pacier film. And that's my key issue with it, that it was trying to be... Well, you said it yourself in your opening defence, that it was trying to be more than spectacle. And this was part of that. It was trying... I think it had enough thematic and tonal similarities with Alien to be considered a good spin-off. But the problem was, it was trying to be a spin-off, it was trying to be a prequel... It was trying to be a horror film. It was trying to be all sorts of things, and it just ended up a real mess. And the huge amount of characters is a big part of that, as well as these big action set pieces that happen that are all sort of incongruous with each other. I mean, do you disagree with that?
I do disagree. Not with everything, but I do disagree. Because the film is a science fiction film. It's wholeheartedly a science fiction film, and therefore it also wants to be about... It wants to have that certain ideas of Prometheus, of the engineers, of the characters.
It's trying to do a lot, yeah.
It is trying to do a lot. And there are definitely certain moments when the pacing in the last half may be moving too fast.
You think it was going too fast in the second half? I think that's just you being confused with the fact that it was trying to do too much.
No. I don't know. Just no.
All I'm trying to say is that it was a mess. It was trying to do 5-6 things, 5-6 different... It was trying to juggle all these plots when all it needed to do was juggle 1 or 2 plots and really make them the best that they could be. And I think that carried over with all sections of the film, including the characters, which I want to come on to.
We will get to that.
Yeah, it's been a major problem as well. I'm putting it to you, defendant, that there's too much with too little explanation. And I don't mean explanation in the sense that some people might suggest.
What do you mean by suggest?
I don't mean that I need to be told everything. I don't need to be told what the Black Goose specifically is.
Yeah, and I don't think
in a film, you have key points, key moments. When those key moments happen, they all need to happen for a reason. It all needs to build. Not not from an understanding point of view, just from a story point of view. Every single part they all needs to come together, and it doesn't do that. It just sort of, like a tree, branches off in all different directions, and it's a big mess of stuff, and it doesn't make sense to me.
But it all has the same goal behind it, because all these different people are getting attacked in one way or another, whether they're getting reanimated by the goo, or their own crew members are turning into creatures or whatever it is, or if the engineers have come after them, we're trying to get rid of them. But it all has that same goal running through it, that they find out that they're planning to go to Earth, and they need to stop them. Not everyone's going to make it. It also deals with the fact that also characters have their prerogatives, like the captain, he's in charge of the ship and therefore the well-being of the crew. However, he is also made clear early on that he's just there because he's being paid to be there. So therefore they know.
I mean, I get your point. I get that
he has his job. Obviously, the most sort of warm-hearted kind of characters would be from the two opposite sides of the same coin would be the couple, basically.
Okay, I mean, you're moving into characters now. Just quickly back to the plot.
Backtracking to what you're saying is a mess of a whole bunch of things.
I mean, the way you just described it to me sounded like a mess of a bunch of things. You didn't even mention some of the side bits. You didn't mention about the scientist, the mercenary sort of subplot. You didn't mention about the alien and the creature, them mating. I assume that was a mating ritual.
Which bit?
Have you never mated like that, where you just impregnate another species through their mouth and create an alien through their chest, their stomach? You never done that?
Oh, no,
anyway,
I can't say I have, but that is an alien trait.
Even you describing it sounded messy to me. I can probably describe the plot to Alien in a paragraph. I don't think I could. I mean, I've struggled to describe the entire cohesive plot to this. Yes, there's lots of similar themes going through the film. The premise is simple, and it does end up where it needed to.
Yes, do they or do they not stop the engineers in the end? Which is what the premise is about.
Well, no, the premise was to discover about the...
Yeah, and they discovered them early on.
Well, that was their goal anyway. Their objective was to stop the engineers, which they did, but all this other stuff happened. And what I'm saying is all the best films are very clearly driven, and this wasn't. Anyway, we've been on the plot for a while now.
Well, it does have a driving force because it has
a driving
that
force, but it doesn't have a clear path. It's not clear. There's a reason why so many people are confused by this film, and it's not because everyone's thick. Not everyone is stupid.
No, it's not like that. The film... No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I mean,
a lot of people are stupid, but not everyone.
Wow. I think the film does play to Ridley Scott's strengths, which is show it through very visual... his visuals.
The visuals are great. I'm not.
He tells the
visuals.
story in his visuals.
It's a magnificent looking piece of shit.
No. What? Right. Magnificent looking, yes, but it is also magnificent looking because Ridley Scott is using the look of the film to also tell the story, whether it be through a character or a bit of mythos or some sort of action.
No, that's fair. No, that's good. That's a good point. It just doesn't really answer my point about the mess of the plot. But we'll leave that to the audience to decide whether...
I think, yeah, the audience can decide between the mess. Right.
There was
Okay.
Naomi
Since we're touching on the
Rapace.
character.
Is it Rapace or Rapace? I'm English and
Noomi
can't pronounce
Rapace.
these things. Noomi Rapace.
Yes. Noomi Rapace.
You're the expert. So she played Elizabeth Shaw. There was Michael Fassbender, who played David.
Yes.
They were the good characters. They were great. I actually thought they were very good, very well acted.
They're also the main characters.
Which is fine. And there's lots of films where the main characters are great and the supporting cast are not. Thor is one of them. Logan Marshall Green as Holloway can't act. Charlize Theron.
No. I have to stop you right there with Logan Marshall Green. I thought he acted well.
Did he? In what film? It wasn't this film.
He did what? I thought he would do. I thought he did what he was supposed to do. My issue
he seems like
is
a nice
there
guy.
was
If I met him in real
material.
life, I'd shake his hand. But he was not a good actor in this film. Or maybe
he was annoyed because when he discovered them, he realised that they were just mortal.
Yeah, I got that. I felt he was shown up by Noomi, by Elizabeth Shaw. Charlize Theron. A stupid name.
Charlize Theron is not a stupid name.
A lot of people are going to hate me after this.
Yeah, they are.
Vickers. There is an ongoing debate amongst the internet community. Is she or isn't she a robot? Did you know that?
Is she an android? Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
This is an ongoing debate.
Yes, I did. And
Ridley Scott himself dropped a hint that there may be two. Okay, he said that. My point is that the only reason that anyone thinks that there's a robot, that she's a robot, is because her acting is so robotic. It was horrible. It was horrible acting. I've seen her in other stuff that I
while
liked,
it's not Charlize Theron's best,
No.
it's not her. It's.
I'm glad you said that. I'd be worried.
I'm not going that far, but Charlize Theron had to.
She acted better than I would
She plays
have.
angry in this film.
Yes.
And she plays authoritative angry in this film.
She plays a robot who's angry in this film.
No.
That or her acting's terrible. So we can confirm she is either a robot or her acting is terrible.
I will not be backed into a corner here, wooden acting or a robot. Charlize Theron in Prometheus, she is made to look like David. She's blonde. She has the.
She's a cross-dresser.
No. She's made to look a similar way to David, and therefore
Is a
that
robot.
can who is an android,
So you think
and therefore
she's
no. There are several moments in the film when she is called in question whether she's whether she's a robot or not, and she says,
"I'll have sex with you."
"Yeah, to find out." And I'm judging by the captain's reaction that she clearly isn't a robot.
Well, he never mentions it again. That's, to me, the actions of a man who acts with guilt, who never wants to remember something.
Unfortunately, she dies, and I kind of wish she didn't.
Let's just stick on that point a second, because you know I was going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because one of my key issues with the film, I have many, it seems.
Yeah,
one of my
do.
key issues.
I have less.
One of my key issues with the film is the action.
Action.
Everyone knows the moment that I'm specifically thinking of, where the giant alien ship falls from the sky and starts rolling like a penny. And
right.
They're
You
running
do realise
away.
it's croissant shaped. I want to make that exactly clear.
It has a
The
hole in the
ship
middle,
looks
yeah.
like a croissant.
Okay, it's a giant polo. It doesn't matter. It's
The way it falls seems pretty logical to me.
why was she running in a straight line?
That I can't answer.
It was just I laughed. Why am I laughing in an Alien franchise film? Do you know how depressed people knock Alien 3? People hate Alien 3, but I suggest to any Alien fans out there who haven't seen the director's cut of Alien 3, check it out because it's actually pretty good. But not for a second did I laugh in that film.
The reason they didn't laugh is because they were depressed after the
that's
film.
the point.
No, they weren't just depressed that Ellen Ripley
The
died. They
Alien
were depressed that Alien 3 was ending like that.
The Alien franchise.
Fuck no.
The Alien franchise is steeped in gothic imagery, in depressive scenes and environment.
I don't agree with depressive. It's all drenched in dread.
Okay, dread. Okay, that's a fair point. Dread.
Which Alien 3 is depressive.
Negative feeling. I can only think of a few films that create the same atmosphere or a similar atmosphere. Seven, for example. David Fincher's Seven, which I mean, obviously Alien 3 is not his film in inverted commas, but it is. And even though it says it isn't, it is.
It's not.
Debatable. But that's for another time. I didn't laugh in the other Alien films. Why should I be? Okay, there are some really funny moments in Aliens that are deliberate. That action scene was not meant to be funny. The Polo crushing Charlize Theron. I mean, I cheered because I'm glad that annoying character died. But I also laughed because it was that ridiculous. It was just silly. It was silly and it made me sad. And it goes back to my feelings about this film. It was just shallow and thoughtless in places and clunky.
I object to this.
And ridiculous.
I object.
It had moments of absolute insanity.
Objection, Your Honour.
I just think that it was bad. It was bad. Next character, Idris Elba, is on my negative list. I love Idris Elba. He's great. He should play James Bond.
Yeah. What's the question?
Oh, there's no question. I think he's
What's
great.
the point?
I wanted to make it clear that I love Idris Elba. He's so smooth. Isn't he smooth?
Yeah.
Shit in this film.
No, he's not.
He is. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault. He did the best he could with what he had to work with, which was a tiny role that was poorly thought out, had a poor character arc. He just killed himself. He dropped a line about he'd do anything, but just saying that you'll do anything and making the audience feel like that character would do anything they're worlds apart. And when Captain Dallas takes charge and decides to go into the tunnels, into the air ducts with the flamethrower, and then suddenly he has a realization that he's really messed up, and he's like, "Get me out of here!" It feels real. It feels there's real human weakness and fragility on display there. And if you go to Prometheus, he's just another robot. Maybe he's the other robot. Because he's just like, I will throw my life away. Smash into the ship, dead. Okay.
He doesn't just throw his life away just
probably
rationally out of nowhere.
His reasoning was good,
He-
but it just... If he had been given more time, again, too many characters. If he had been given more time, it would have been much better. That's all I'm going to say.
Right, with Idris Elba, he makes it clear why he smashes into the thing.
Yeah, he
wants to go out valiantly.
Yeah.
And he does exactly that. Even though he's been paid to not do that. So...
Yeah, pretty good going. I didn't believe it.
Idris Elba
noble.
put a good effort into that role. And I think it comes off that way.
And then there's Guy Pearce. He's in this film.
Guy Pearce as Peter Wayland.
He's in this film.
Yes, he is in this film.
Doesn't really do much. But, maybe if they had cut a few other characters, he'd have had more time. He was actually quite good. I liked him. that was that, because he didn't have much of a part to speak about. So if I cared about Charlize Theron's character more, then maybe Guy Pearce's role would have been more important to me. But I know this sounds all very negative, but I really was. I was angry about this film. I've not felt as angry about other films as I felt coming out of this film, and it's because my expectation. Okay, so partly my fault for thinking that it might be a really good film. And there were just so many things. I tried to turn my brain off and enjoy the film for what it was, and I really couldn't, because it's part of a legacy. It's part of the Alien legacy. The
I
Alien
don't think
franchise.
you need to turn your brain off, and your expectations need to be lowered. However, it's perfectly rational for anyone going into this film to have high expectations. It's just a matter of whether people thought it met any of their expectations.
Sure.
And
okay.
I'll leave that for people to
When
ponder.
when I first sat down to watch 1979 Alien, I took it up to my room, closed the curtains. I've been told that this was the film to watch. This was Jaws in space. Awesome. I watched it. I was terrified, but I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. It all made sense. The suspense was excellent. Every piece of action had a clear purpose that defined the arc of the film, and the climax and the resolution were fantastic. And the double ending, it was effectively a double ending. It really got me going. It was great. I was rooting for Ripley. She is the best female protagonist in a film, bar none. If I was a woman, I would be very, very inclined to follow her as an icon. She would be my role model. She's my role model now. As a man, I dress like her, and she's brilliant. And Aliens, it's even better. They just turn it up to 11. It's so good. It's so good, and this film is part of that legacy, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good, and it does sound whiny and annoying, and I'm sorry. I apologise to any listeners who think that, but I genuinely wanted to love this film because the Alien franchise, the Alien lore has been messed around with for so long. You had Alien Resurrection that, as far as the only way my brain can keep it as part of the franchise is by imagining that, and even Alien 3, not the director's cut, that and Alien Resurrection are just a dream that Ripley's having in cryosleep. And Alien vs Predator and Alien vs Predator 2, they were so bad. That's enough. They should be tried for first degree. Okay, this is second degree. It's one tier below. But yeah, this was Ridley Scott coming back, as you said. The original designer of the Alien and all the set, he was back. This was going to be everything that we could have wanted, and it's not. And I'm really looking forward to the new Alien film that's coming out soon, because that might be the one.
Okay, just bear with me. When Prometheus, before it was Prometheus, the development of the film, Ridley Scott came on, and he had a new screenwriter called John Spates, who is a co-screenplay, shares a co-credit with Damon Lindelof in the screenplay, well, for Prometheus, as some of his is still present. So the development of the film, to begin with, of Prometheus, it first started out as 2 prequels, back to back, to be made. Alien prequels that would answer and tie in to the original Alien film, and I think actually inserting that with the cross on we see in Alien. Those 2 films are going to be made with the original, with this writer John Spates and Ridley Scott, and that's what it first started as, the germ that springboarded to the rest. After that, they gave it a lot of thought, because crucially, Ridley Scott made a decision that he did not want to temper with the original film. Therefore, the Alien prequels had to be changed. It's too predictable. And the decision was to make it more about the engineers, which he always wanted to come back to in the first place. I think at this point Lindelof had been brought in to develop a new script, which could also cause a little bit of confusion because the project divulges as being in the Alien universe about the engineers, but then he's being told that he can't use the name of the alien. Prometheus was always going to be more than one movie. There was never ever going to be just one film. There was always going to be at least two.
Okay, that's interesting. I've got 2 points. Sorry to interrupt you, but I've got 2 points. One, and these are questions for you. One, do you think the confusion and issues in the early stages of the production echoed throughout this film and were the original cause of the actual confusion with the plotting within the film?
I think as the developments went on, it kind of got warped, really. And here's how it got warped. If you watch any of the interviews or anything like that leading up to the film from the filmmakers, they say exactly what it is. It's about the engineers and gods and being able to find it. It's about Prometheus, the story, the Greek myth itself, and all of that. When it came to marketing the entire project, it sort of morphed itself to look like Alien. If you look at some of the first trailer they released was pretty much a homage trailer to the original Alien film, and this is where the expectation of the film came from. I mean, the film was going to have big expectations anyway, but this is where, of course, it's a summer blockbuster, so it's going to have to make its money back. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars, which is fine, but when the filmmakers talking about it, you get exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like a science fiction film about something else in the Alien universe.
So it's a film with an identity crisis because the studio wanted it one way, the director and the team wanted it another way, and it ended up being an odd mixture of all things that came across as a bit of a confusing mess.
I think it's because there's still that bit of clinging on to that little project, to that project beforehand, and I think some of that does get left in this film.
Okay.
Which
so
could
are you
be the
agreeing
reason.
with me or disagreeing with me?
I don't agree.
Again, it just comes down to opinion, but I believe that from what you're telling me, early production clashes of intent have caused this film to be more confused than it needed to be, and whether you think that wasn't actually such a big problem or whether you think it was a big problem, which I do, that's up to you. That's up to you, the audience. But I feel like you're supporting my point.
I don't. I think they managed to pare it down to what they wanted to get out of the film, and I think there was a lot of successes in the film.
So regardless of whether it affected the film, it affected the marketing as well. Was it going to be a homage, or was it going to be, what did you call it?
Spin-off.
A spin-off. I
would just like to say
misled.
that people saying that it's a prequel are not wrong, but here's
this
how
film
you
doesn't
can
know.
perceive.
It doesn't know what it wants to be.
No, it is. It's a spin-off and prequel, because prequel says that it is set before.
I know what a prequel is.
Exactly.
I'm sure our intelligent audience.
Yeah,
know what
exactly.
prequel is.
But if it was a prequel, it would be more about the alien rather than.
Why was the alien in there at all?
Because
Was that because someone told them to do it?
Because the aliens directly also linked to the engineers. Even in the film itself, the alien creature is seen as a perfect survivor. In the film, there's murals when they're in the tomb and they look up and there's a big mural of the alien.
Yeah, there is.
which shows that the engineers have found that perfect surviving creation that they...
Really? I thought it burst out of that creature's chest. Oh wait, plot hole. Because suddenly this weird creature is born out of the navigator, whatever the hell they're called. What are they called?
Engineers.
Thank you. Why do I keep forgetting that?
I don't know.
Boring.
No. No, I don't agree with that at all.
Oh,
It's not
there's nothing to
it's
agree
not
about.
But it's not...
There's nothing to be agreed or disagreed. Is that mural there or not before the bursting happens? And the bursting is a repulsive term for anything, but let's just go with it.
Well, that's what it is.
The mural, was it there before the alien burst out? Yes or no?
Yes.
So why was the alien bursting out?
Because that's what the
Is that-
alien does.
Alright, just think about
Whenever it's
just think
made,
about
it
this.
bursts out.
Just think about this. Just think. They've made a mural to the alien, so they know what the alien is. They've either created it or witnessed it.
Yes.
But then how does the cervix creature effing the engineer create an alien? And if they knew about this process already, what on earth were they doing in the first place to create the first alien if that wasn't the first alien? Because they clearly know about this creature already. Why? What? Yeah, it's a plot hole.
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's
Sorry.
not, because... Yes, the mural is shown before the bursting happens. We've already seen, before it bursts out the chest at the end, we already know it's not the first bursting ever to happen, because the entire place is completely abandoned, full
What
of
was the
dead
point?
bodies that have already... There's a whole pile of bodies
There's no aliens
with bursts out.
No.
There's no
see,
other creature that does that.
I've listened to other reviews of Prometheus, and everyone who has enjoyed the film and defended it has spoken about a possible war between the engineers, and that's why there's dead bodies. There's no alien corpses there, it's just a mound of them. So that's clearly fighting between them. So there's no alien there. That's not the alien, that's nothing to do with the alien.
But it's not the first one, because...
Well, it's clearly not, because they've got a mural to it. But that is why I'm saying, why does the bursting happen? What is the purpose of it? If there's already... All you needed was the mural to imply, it's subtle, to imply that there are these other species. Maybe these creatures have made other things. That to me is much more intellectual than having the bursting happen. Because the bursting seemed like a freak incident. It was, because
How so?
she had sex with Holloway, who was infected by the goo.
Yes.
The goo is inside her. She gives birth to the goo tentacle thing, facehugger-esque thing, that sexually assaults one of the engineers,
Yeah.
and then an alien happens. That was the process to create this alien.
Yes, but we already know that a facehugger is how they breed.
No, but Will, my point is, this is meant... Think of that process. Human ingesting the ooze, human having sex with other human, impregnating her with ooze, ooze turning into tentacle thing, a tentacle thing assaulting engineer, alien. Now, you can't have a mural to something that requires that process. Well,
It shows that this process has already happened.
How has it happened? There were no humans to ingest it before.
Because...
Where did the cervix creature come from?
Cervix?
The thing that she cesareaned out of herself. Where did that come from?
That came from... Was it Holloway having sex with her?
Okay, that's right, it did.
Which also, he was infected with
Yes.
this goo, which also meant she was infected.
Yeah, I understand where that alien came
Or
from.
that part of
But
her
my
body
point
was
is,
infected.
when you make a mural to something, it's because you know about it. It's a thing. It's real.
Yeah.
But how... Are you not understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah, what you're saying is they're the cycle of that.
That's how that
That's how
happened.
it happens.
How have they made a mural to something that requires
Because
human
they
beings?
don't have. What we're saying, the engineers have almost identical blood to us.
So they were ingesting the ooze and having sex with each other.
Yes,
And then
I mean,
cesareaning
that's
out
quite possible. Also,
But my
it's
point
been
is,
shown
there was
that
no
they
need
could...
to have the scene in the film. Anyway, let's just move on, because otherwise we'll be stuck arguing this for ages. We need to move on to the next point.
You could say that's how that process happens. And we needed to see from the engineers' perspective.
It was pointless. It was a pointless scene.
Right, let's move on.
A film filled with
Let's move on.
nonsense.
Let's move on. No, it's not.
I do have a question for you.
Go ahead.
This was the other point I was trying to make earlier. I put it to you. This is clearly intended to be one of two films. Do you feel that hurt this film? Because I feel that maybe a lot of this is in regard to the future film that's going to be coming out. When's it coming out?
There is a future film already in pre-production, in fact. Prometheus 2, which is coming out 2016.
2016, okay. Do you feel that having a sequel to this prequel spin-off has hurt it as a standalone film?
No, because I think they deal with the planet. I think they get everything they want from this planet that they set out to do, and they complete it, and it finishes with them moving on to the next film then.
But it's not necessarily the plot. The two characters that I would have liked to have survived in some way, shape or form. That's good. I'm not sure if I'll watch Prometheus 2 because I was that put off by the first one. I'll watch the new Alien film that's coming out. Who's directing the new Alien film?
That's Neil Blomkamp.
Oh, goodness me, I'm excited. Love District 9, fantastic film. That's another story.
But this also kind of verifies why it's a prequel spin-off. The fact that Alien 5 is being made when Fox quite clearly could have said, no, we're not going to make Prometheus 2. We're not going to make another film. We're just going to make a sequel instead. Which...
My point is, I feel that because this is part of two films, a two-parter, the first part of two, that it was hurt. Like we've seen quite often when films are forced to be longer than they should be. Take the latest Hobbit, for example. A film that should have been one long, excellent, amazing film, was split into three pulpy, ridiculous summer blockbuster films. That's another film that needs to be on trial, but let's leave that for another time. My point is, I think that the pacing and the massive storylines and the massive characters and everything, it didn't have a great ending considering all of the various threads. And I reckon that could be partially because there's another film coming out.
I don't agree with that.
But it has, though.
I don't agree, because it develops its characters that it has in this singular film, as well as the characters that will lead off from it.
So all the other characters in this film are cannon fodder, just serving the purpose of lifting Numi and Michael to the next film. They've helped them ascend to the next film. Is that all their purpose was? Because I kind of feel that way, given how shoddily thought out the characters were.
I don't agree with it. It hasn't hurt it, and I'm excited for the next film, because I'm looking forward to where they go with Numi Rapace and Michael Fassbender, which I don't think would be the same if I didn't see this film. I'm also really interested with how they develop the engineers.
you think the aliens will make another cameo appearance that totally undermines the plot?
No.
The prosecution would like to present a witness statement about Prometheus. Defendant, this could be useful for you. In fact, this is almost helping you. And I quote, "It doesn't get much better than this. Intelligent, creepy, and utterly compelling." This is on the back of the Prometheus Blu-ray box, by the way. Oh, it's Alec Zane from The Sun. That was the best quote they could put about this film on the box. A quote from The Sun. I have nothing more to say on this.
While that does sound like damn and fake praise, I would like to say that leading film critic Roger Ebert gave the film 4 stars. That's full rating.
Out of 10?
Out of 4.
Even out of 10 would be high for me.
That's 4-star rating. Not only that, leading film critic in England, Mark Kermode, gave it a positive review.
Do you have any evidence?
I have evidence to present to the court. I have here production budget of the film, $120 to $130 million, and the box office, $403.4 million.
So did well.
To get the money, that kind of money, people had to go more than once.
Not necessarily. You went more than once. About 200 mil of that's probably from your bank account.
No. A ticket doesn't cost that much.
Not yet,
it is
anyway.
pricey, but we're getting it to $1 million. But yeah,
So that's $403
million.
That's
So
a
it was
lot.
a success in the box office
400
with
million.
an R rating in the summer. 400
million of Alien fans' money that was given in good faith for the potential of a good film, and it was not rewarded.
Some felt they were rewarded.
Okay, I wasn't one of those people. And there are many. But let's go to IMDb, because we all know that IMDb is one of the best sources. Well, it's better than Rotten Tomatoes.
It's very good at showing how popular a film is.
Yes, it is. 400,000 plus people have given this film a rating. 7 out of 10, average.
7 out of 10 is a positive rating.
It's an okay rating.
6 out of 10 would be an average rating.
What films-
Leaning more towards positive. 5 would be average.
Just bearing in mind,
4 would be below average.
the first
7
two Alien
is
films
good.
made the top. The first two Alien films made the IMDb top 200. Made the top 250.
Alien 3, Alien Resurrection,
Don't
AVPs
mention AVP again.
all have lower ratings than Prometheus on IMDb.
So, one film is less bad than some of the worst films.
7 out of 10. If it was a worse rating, then maybe you'd have an argument. But it's got 7 out of 10. That's positive. That's a good rating.
You know what? Prometheus is better than films. It's better than Showgirls. It's better than Sex and the City. It's better than Jupiter Ascending. But it's not anywhere near the standard that anyone was hoping for. It got an Oscar nomination for visual effects.
And it has really good visual effects because
They're excellent.
the filmmakers decided to use squishy puppets and animatronics
And that is to be commended because
with only enhancements when necessary.
Well, I personally wholeheartedly support that. Some of the best films, from a visual point of view, are the ones that incorporate subtle use of CGI with actual live action and live stunts. So that's a good thing.
It is a good film.
And to me,
it's not all that's good about the film.
To me, it's
which
the
is
equivalent
why it's got a higher
of
rating.
me going and taking Alien. I've got Alien. I'm so happy. I run home and I open the box and crap pours out. It's just shit. It's an amazing cover. It's amazing wrapping around not good. Not good. Right, time for closing statements. Fine members of the jury, open-minded, attentive and vigilant listeners, I put it to you that Prometheus cannot be critically compared to Alien. The ideas and questions raised weren't wholly answered. They were not properly followed through. And that was because of how poorly they were presented. No clear questions were asked that weren't soon lost in the confused plotting or rendered utterly pointless by gaping plot holes that littered this film. Many debate whether Vickers, Charlize Theron's character, was a robot. I put it to you that people only think that because of how wooden her acting was, and hers was by no means one of the worst performances in the film. Some of the horror elements missed the mark, and some of the action was downright laughable. The film itself, possibly the director, and certainly the script, didn't know whether it was supposed to be a homage or a prequel or set in the same universe as Prometheus. This was a problem that emerged from pre-production and carried all the way through to the release of the film. Prometheus was a smelting pot of half-baked ideas, events, and theologies. It tried to be so many things and ended up without any real identity. It was a shambles and not a patch on Alien.
Men and women of the jury, Prometheus. Is it a good film? The fact is that it's had a split reaction. And I think what would have been really bad is we all sat in the cinema and went, oh, and just left it there. The fact is, like it or not, we can still debate about it. It's given us more to the mythos, and I think the film does have a certain power that elevates it because it reaches far and is still reaching. And that's why I believe that Prometheus is special, and something special that will last. I thank you for all your time.
Alright, that's all we've got time for. Thanks again for listening to this, our first movie trial. We are the movie trialers, and that was the case of movie trialers versus Prometheus. I want to thank my guest and defendant, Will, the Godzilla fan. Thanks, Will, for coming.
Thank you.
Have you enjoyed yourself?
I have. I've enjoyed defending Prometheus from you.
You did a decent job, but you lost.
You bastard.
Hopefully you'll come again, and maybe you'll be defending Godzilla.
We're back to win.
Yeah, I've got a few things to say about that film as well.
Oh, I'm gonna win that one.
We'll see. Alright, thanks again, and please, as I said before, comment below. Any feedback is good feedback. Any criticism is probably ignored. No, I'm kidding. It's good. It's all good. Thanks again, and goodbye.
Order! Silence! Members of the jury, you decide. Based on the evidence presented in court by both parties, what is your verdict? Guilty or not guilty?